Ladies and gentlemen, the time for talking and barking is done. Stipe Miocic versus Jon Jones needs to be scrapped immediately. Done. Throw it out the window. I don't want to hear another damn thing about that matchup, and you shouldn't want to hear anything about that matchup either. The UFC has one of the biggest possible heavyweight title fights in the history of the company sitting in the palm of their hands between one Tom Aspinall and Johnny Bones Jones. Now, I understand that Stipe Miocic is one of those guys that we look at in terms of the heavyweight division that is highly credentialed, and he has, all of these different accolades at heavyweight. There is no way you can sit there with a straight face and a bold chest and look at a fan or anybody that says, I don't want to see Tom Aspinall versus Jon Jones. You know you want to see that matchup. We all want to see that matchup. Now, I'm going to bring up a couple different scenarios in which I think this fight takes place and when I think we could see this and if we're going to see this. Some of the concerns I have regarding this matchup are, one, Dana White has been very adamant that it's going to be Jones versus Miocic next. For whatever reason, they are stuck on that matchup. That is not the fight the UFC should be looking to book. It has to be Tom Aspinall versus Jon Jones. When have we ever seen someone at heavyweight come in and look the way Tom Aspinall has looked? I understand Jon Jones has done incredible things in the sport, but he also has a lot of question marks around some of those accolades due to how he has tested positive for banned substances, how he has constantly been a headache off the field, so to speak. There is no bigger fight that the UFC could make, honestly, inside the UFC right now that would have more fans going, whoa, than Tom Aspinall versus Jon Jones. Now, you could make the argument saying Topuria versus Makhachev, a Conor McGregor fight. There's some other matchups, maybe Topuria, Sean O'Malley. I can buy into some of those. Tom Aspinall versus Jon Jones is batshit crazy. The UFC needs to book this matchup immediately. Now, I understand that Jon Jones was injured. There's some question marks regarding the health of Jon Jones. We have some different things that need to be figured out, and I know the UFC is looking to go to England this summer for a gigantic pay-per-view in England. So, would Tom Aspinall headline that? I would like to believe that he's going to headline that. Now, the issues are, Ciryl Gane's playing Duck, Duck, Gone over there, and we're not, he's not going in there against the top guys in the division. He's probably going to be fighting Marcin Tybura in France, headlining a fight night. So that kind of removes Gane from the equation. You could make the argument that Curtis Blaydes should get a title shot against Tom Aspinall, but then there we go. Is that really a title shot? Because Jon Jones is still technically the heavyweight champion. We have an interim champ in Tom Aspinall who is more than deserving of this point being the heavyweight champion. He steps in on short notice, goes in there, finishes Sergey Pavlovich, who a lot of people were dodging considering the punching power of that man, and Aspinall goes in there and finishes him. Tom Aspinall should be looked at as the heavyweight champion. But in all fairness, Jon Jones can't control the fact that he had an injury because Jon Jones would have went out there and fought Stipe Miocic in November at UFC 295 if he wasn't injured. So I think we need to give Jon Jones a little bit of a pass there. Now, I know people aren't going to want to give Jon a pass because of the things that he does, outside of fighting. But again, when it's the same thing in the NFL, when we look at a fighter, we need to judge the production of what happens when they're on the field. My concern with Jon Jones is the BS outside of fighting is starting to kind of outweigh that a little bit, right? Jon Jones has been incredibly inactive, and we're just going to be sitting there saying Jon Jones should go in there and fight Stipe Miocic, who has not fought since the Venom fight kits have been in the UFC. You heard that. Right. Stipe Miocic has not worn any of the Venom gear yet. The last time we saw him was in 2021 against Francis Ngannou where he got KO'd. The fact that Stipe Miocic just comes back and walks into a title shot against Jon Jones is crazy. It's not the fight the fans want to see. It's not the fight that should happen. The biggest fight on the horizon is Tom Aspinall versus Jon Jones. Now, when we talk about a matchup between Aspinall and Jon Jones, it's like, okay, well, we want to see the fight, and there's people that, I put up a poll that I'll throw up here for you where people are like, Aspinall's going to beat his ass. Jon Jones is the GOAT. He's going to beat his ass. So let's settle it. Let's settle it. Let's book the fight. It's a huge fight. It's not like it's someone that doesn't deserve a title shot or all that. We have an interim champion who has the belt, who took out Sergey Pavlovich, and then we have Jon Jones. Book the damn fight. That's the biggest fight the UFC can make. It's the biggest fight they can make, and stylistically, it's the most exciting matchup inside the UFC heavyweight division. We have Jon Jones, who's known for being one of the most well-rounded fighters we have ever seen inside the sport. He has nasty kicks. He has nasty elbows, vicious ground and pound, outstanding takedowns. He's able to switch stances. Jon has always been a guy that we look at and go, that man can do it all. Where are the weaknesses? Where, if you're going to point at the biggest weakness of Jon Jones, in my opinion, it's the boxing. He doesn't exactly have power in his hands. It's more along the kicks and the elbows and the takedowns and all those different things. He has great submissions. Whereas Tom Aspinall is kind of this nuanced version at heavyweight where he moves like a welterweight out there. He's nimble on the feet. He does have pretty good boxing. I think he's got better boxing than Jon Jones. He does have pretty good takedowns. He does have good submissions. And he's got some decent leg kicks as well. To where when we're looking at this, when we've seen what Jon has struggled with in the past, it's been these guys that have good power and have good movement. They have been the people that give Jon Jones the most trouble. So when we look at Tom Aspinall, I think that's where everyone's getting the idea, like, this is just a scary matchup for Jon Jones. But then on that other side of the fence, we have that fan base that says, whoa, 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 whoa. Jon's just going to go out there. He's going to take down Tom Aspinall. He's going to hold him down, submit him, or he's going to ground and pound him out, and he's going to do kind of what he did to Ciryl Gane. Now, I don't think he's going to go out there and make it look that easy against Ciryl Gane. I still give Jon a very good shot to win this fight because we cannot take anything away from Jon Jones. No matter who Jon is in there against, right? We've seen him have some very questionable decision wins that maybe shouldn't have went his way against Dominic Reyes. You know, Thiago Santos blows out his knee, and you're wondering if that doesn't happen, what happens in that matchup? So there's been a lot of different things. This matchup between Tom Aspinall and Johnny Bones Jones is the biggest fight the UFC can make right now. I really believe it's the biggest fight they can make. I think that would do crazy numbers. I think if they did that inside the UK, it would be the biggest pay-per-view, nonetheless, the biggest event the UK has probably put on in terms of MMA, maybe in terms of combat sports, because they could deck the entire card out. You could have MVP on there. You could add in Leon Edwards, Bilal Muhammad, whatever. They could do a huge, like, UFC 299-esque card over in the UK that features Tom Aspinall versus Jon Jones. And I think it's a great stylistic matchup, and I think that is a fight the fans want to see. Nobody wants to see Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. And quite frankly, the UFC, they really cannot, they will maybe, but they really should not book that fight, because I've been on the record on my channel saying for an extended period of time, whoever wins or loses that fight, so someone's going to win, someone's going to lose, they're both going to retire after they fight each other. I think Jon and Stipe are looking at the heavyweight division saying some of these guys are moving really well. They're young, they're hungry, we've been inactive. I just think they both retire after the fight. Jon has been very inactive. Whatever you want to say about Jon Jones, whether you like him or dislike him, he's been inactive. But we know when he's in there, what he did to Ciryl Gane was incredibly impressive. Ran right through him like he was no competition. And we know Ciryl Gane's a pretty good heavyweight, man. He's got good movement. He's got good striking. It's more of a pretty style at heavyweight that we're not exactly used to, which everyone's kind of found fascinating. Goes out there, dominates Ciryl Gane. That was impressive. So it always begs the question, what happens when you put him in there against Tom Aspinall, who moves well, who has a huge fan base behind him? I think that is the biggest fight the UFC can make right now. I think it's the biggest fight the UFC could possibly ever make at heavyweight, other than something that has to do with Brock Lesnar. I know we've looked at, the Jon Jones versus Daniel Cormier fights, which are light heavyweight fights. People tend to forget about that at times. We have not seen a huge fight of that magnitude at heavyweight in quite some time. It is the fight to make, ladies and gentlemen. The UFC needs to find out, obviously, what the status is of Jon Jones in terms of the injury, because that's what it's going to depend on. That's the fight to make. Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall in the UK. Book it. I want to hear from you all down in the comments. Like this video, comment your prediction below. If this matchup was to take place, who do you think wins? Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall? When do you think it takes place? Do you think they would book it into the UK? Subscribe to the channel. I appreciate you all. See you next time.